Welcome to the Embodied Sounds podcast, where we explore how music and sound add to our collective well-being in mind, body, and spirit. In order to keep this podcast free of advertising, please consider joining our Patreon community. Your support will go towards the creation of this show, as well as original music compositions and recording projects to help us all reduce stress and live a healthier and happier life. Learn more at www.embodiedsounds.com. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Embodied Sounds podcast. My name's Joshua Sam Miller, and today I am blessed to be chatting with a very good friend of mine who I haven't talked to in a couple of years. We went through our yoga teacher training together in Rishikesh, India, in the practice of Nada Yoga, and we were roommates on the month-long experience living in the ashram, practicing every day. So welcome to my friend Paul Yip from Hong Kong.
Hello.
You know, on the Embodied Sounds podcast, we like to talk about how music and sound have become helpful practices in our life and what this art form and this practice has allowed us to gain by welcoming it into our life. And Paul is a master of many instruments, focusing on vibrational healing with singing bowls and gongs, as well as a very special Shruti box that spans 3 octaves, which I got to listen to him play personally one time in Lisbon, Portugal. That was absolutely beautiful. To start out, would you like to just tell us a bit about where you are right now and what is your daily sound practice, if you have one, these days? What does that look like?
Yeah, I'm in Hong Kong right now, still under some limitation to go out. And then, for my practice, usually I didn't really practice the instruments now, but mostly I keep silence. Yeah. And then usually when I'm teaching my students, I'll teach them singing bowls, tongue drum, or some shamanic drums or ocean drums. Yeah, so usually when I use these tools, I'm teaching or performing or making music. I mean, producing music. Or for some like sound bath meditation events.
Can you remember back when you first got inspired by an artist or a piece of music or a live concert? What was some of your initial inspiration to pursue this as a career path and a life path?
Oh, it's a long story. Like, first of all, I sing in choirs when I was like a primary school, since primary school to actually university. So I was singing a lot, and then like also sometimes a little bit like to be a conductor or director. And then I also sing in church choirs, actually, for many years. And then I start to learn guitar around secondary school. So sometimes play guitar and sing in the choir. The fellowship in church. And then I went to study in Canada to take high school and university. At that time, I start to listen to much more music in different genre. So I start to listen to indie rock, and then like Radiohead, Sway, Brit pop, and then like trip hop, like Portishead, Massive Attack, and a lot. And then like some DJ music, but I'm like more abstract hip hop, like DJ Crush, DJ Shadow, DJ Cam, DJ Food, like the Ninja Tune stuff. And then I listen to more jazz music. Yeah. When I was in university, I went to the library a lot to listen to, like, borrowing the CDs. So there's lots of jazz at that time. And then, I start to go to more live gigs. So, and then get into the live scene. And then I also try to start DJing. And then start to pick up more effects, guitar effects, and then sampler, and then sequencer, drum machine. Yeah, and then it's like more electronic stuff. I was thinking to go to an audio production college in Toronto. So I drove across like half of the Canada. And then actually on this tour is quite an important tour for me. And because I met, when I was in Montreal, I met an experimental ensemble. So it's because at that time I like prose rock a lot. So I like the Constellation label, like Godspeed, You Black Emperor, Silver Monk Zion. So when I was in Montreal, I tried to look for them. So I went to the La Sala Rosa and Casa de Popolo. I met the experimental ensemble, Philip Kaiser. He inspired me a lot. And he is, I think at that time, is already like 60 years old, like white long hair. He's a teacher of percussion and drums for C-Shape, which is kind of a college. So he gathered his students to form an experimental ensemble, like a big band with free jazz, improvisation, and progressive rock and noise. Yeah, and then after that, I came back to Hong Kong, and then I joined many bands like indie rock, post rock, ambient, electronics, and then I start working as a music consultant. So it's like picking music and making playlists for shopping mall, fashion store, restaurant or hotel. So creating, it's kind of a music branding for the space. So creating the mood or atmosphere or some related to their campaign. Yeah. And then also sometimes DJing, but more not the club DJ, but more event DJ or for exhibition opening. And then on around 2015, I was performing in a dance festival in Korea, Busan, Korea. And then I met spiritual music master Nala Yuji. Yeah, he's another guy that inspired me a lot. Yeah, and then I make friend with him, and then he share a lot with me, and then cause the dance company who organized this dance festival, they also like my music, so they invite me to be artist in residence in Busan. So like 2016, I went to Busan quite often to work with them. And cause Nala sensei, I mean the Nala teacher, yeah, he also collaborates with them a lot. So I also have a chance to collaborate with my teacher. Yeah, and then so I start to play more with these spiritual instruments. And then we went to Japan. It's kind of sacred place with forest, river, and we stay in a monk's guest house. And then we have some practice together. Also play some music in the nature, in the forest or by the river. And then we also visit some temples. Yeah. And then after that, I start to do more about spiritual music and this sound therapy. And and Nala Sensei also gave me some singing bowls. And then so I start playing. And then after that, I went to take another yoga teacher training course in India, Rishikesh. That's how I met Josh.
Wonderful story. Wonderful story. Thank you for sharing, Paul. I didn't realize you had so much experience growing up as a musician before kind of finding it in this spiritual world. And I find that really fascinating. And it makes perfect sense now that I've understand more of that part of your history. What was it like for you to kind of transition away from being a music consultant and a DJ and I think you said indie rock and punk rock group, music kind of guy to more of the ambient sound and working with these instruments that you've been collecting? Tell us how that, what was that like for you as an artist and just as a person? Like, how did you have to adapt?
Oh, actually, I think around 2010, I also start to find, I like John Cage a lot. So John Cage, for the silence, that's inspired me a lot. So I was thinking how it could be like silence and noise exist together. Yeah, that's how I started thinking. And then later I found out it's more like there's no absolute silence in this world. I mean, everything, like the particle or atom, they're all energy and vibrating. And then actually vibration is sound. It's just how we sense it. And like human being got a limitation on certain hertz. It's like 20 hertz to 20k hertz. It's kind of the audible sound, but there's always vibration out there. And then so silence or noise is just a sense of mind. Yeah. And then and then I start to actually explore a lot of wisdom, or I keep studying different stuff, even like conspiracy or like some secret stuff like UFO or aliens or ancient civilization, and then like Maya or pyramid or the and then different religion. So actually I study a lot Buddhism right now. And then also there's some psychedelic experience. And that's why, but actually I experienced that, and then I think through like 1,000 years, and I think through some questions, And then I found that many answers, kind of answers or same experiences describing in Buddhism. Yeah. But yeah. And then also I learned about sacred geometry and numerology and Kabbalah. Yeah. And also the quantum physics. Yeah. So I start, and also the I Ching, I mean the Book of Change from China, or Tao. Tao is more like Lao Tzu, a very great philosopher from China. So I try to combine all of this wisdom together to be more complete, at the same time it's more reasonable or logical or scientific approach with. But of course, like the spiritual stuff, sometimes you can't explain it with science. But I try to be balanced, yeah. And then I try to gather all this to put into the sound therapy.
Beautiful. Beautiful. There's so much wisdom in everything that you're sharing, and I have a lot of personal experience too with sound in this vibrational way, and understanding the importance mostly of silence. I like how you started off talking about that, and I'm curious what you feel when you're in silence. If you can describe that sensation for our listeners, how does being in silence make you feel?
No, I feel very good, actually. That's what, like before, when I was working as a music consultant, I need to listen to music, lots of music, from like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. all the way, selecting music and then mixing the music to make playlists. Yeah, so that at that time I was like non-stop listening to music. So for now I don't often listen to music, actually, but I enjoy the silence. Of course, also the nature sound, but even silence for me is totally fine. I feel very comfortable there. I don't scare of it, and I can, of course, we can also do meditation as well. So for me, meditation is not just like just sitting there and thinking. Try to don't think, but it's more like how to clear up your mind or get into emptiness, and then also it's also a focus. Yeah, you can be really focused. Of course, there's different level or different ways to do meditation, because you can also, like, by gazing candle fire, or gazing the mantra, but also you can keep repeating mantra, and also you can try to get into the how to say, emptiness state. The emptiness state, I mean, in the kind of the how Buddhism describe, is the state of there's no more the duality. Yeah, and it's all the existent and non-existent could be kind of together at the same time. Yeah. So there's also passive meditation or active meditation. So passive meditation is just maybe sitting there, but active meditation, you can be like walking or even dancing, or you can be playing music. Yeah. So for me, there's lots of ways you can experience. But also, of course, silence is really good. It can help you, like the singing bowls. Actually, why it's good for meditation is it got a very long sustain and a long fading sound. So you can like holding this sound, focusing in this sound, and then following it to get into silence. Yeah, that's the main part actually. So it's a leading you. The sound is leading you into silence.
Beautifully said, my friend. Beautifully said. I'm remembering so many moments where I was receiving a sound bath and sound meditation and just listening for that final moment where I can't hear it anymore. And that focus, that intention that you're talking about, I totally resonate with. And hopefully many of our listeners have had that experience as well. My next question is really, because so many of our audience and our listeners are very new to this practice, maybe they've just heard about sound healing and sound therapy, sound meditation. What advice or what tips would you give to someone who's just entering this world for the first time and maybe is kind of, I don't know, a little bit nervous or just curious what it's all about?
Okay, basically for a sound bath, you can just lay down and enjoy and relax. That's the first step, I would say. Yeah, there's nothing to be feared of. Actually, it's beautiful sound, very comfortable, and all you need to do is first you need to just put down your thoughts and relax and enjoy. Yeah, I think that's the most important. If you are still thinking of your work, your relationships, or some anger, then you can't really enjoy it, right?
That's a very good way to begin. I agree, and much easier said than done, I think. Would you? I know for myself sometimes it's hard to just sit down and relax, but that is what practice is all about, for sure. Do you have a favorite instrument that you're playing these days?
Quite a lot. So like this, I just got the Eight Corners of Heaven by Don Conrad's, the Gong Master. So it got a really beautiful sound and also lots of layers and resonance. Yeah, and then also the monochord. The monochord is kind of very like a waterfall for me. And also, of course, the shooty box and singing bowls and tongue drum. Tongue drum got a very beautiful melodic sound, and the singing bowls got a very pure or long sustain and deep sound. And also the rafast is more like a in between handpan and tongue drum. Yeah, and also actually I also like the ocean drum. It's kind of an ocean wave, like following you, and you can actually manipulate the ocean sound, the wave sound. Yeah.
That's an amazing instrument. I love that one too. It makes me feel like I'm lying on the beach and listening to the most peaceful waves crashing right next to me.
Yeah, also sometimes I'll use the electronic sound, like a synthesizer or sampler. So sometimes I'll collect some nature sound, and then also just using the synthesizer, it's also got different kind of more immersive sound. And I mean, of course, the instruments got a very nice acoustics, but sometimes I don't really mind electronic sound, because it's like another kind of feeling or sensation. Yeah. So right now I'm also starting a project with electronic mantra. So my friend is singing mantra in Buddhism events. So we try to collaborate and then make some contemporary kind of mantra music.
I love that. I can't wait to hear it. Congratulations. Earlier, you were talking about the balance of science and spirituality, which is a big topic in this world of sound meditation. And I'm curious if you want to speak more about that and let us know how you kind of balance the two together. You know, how much science do you need to understand in order to allow yourself to have a spiritual experience?
Of course, sometimes the experience is by yourself, and sometimes it's sensation, sometimes it's like a dreaming state. So it's really hard to say how much science or experience. But I would think through each moment. Like for me, there's lots of information on internet, like on YouTube especially, and sometimes you talk about some prehistorical stories, or sometimes of course I would try to consider about it, but but it's more like there's is kind of history that no one can prove, because due to this science right now, because science can't prove everything, especially emotional or spiritual stuff, and also prehistorical stuff. Yeah. So there's lots of different story, and like, because sometimes people do the channeling and they receive messages, but for the channeling, of course there could be some real channeling, but I think there's also sometimes some people got some fake channeling as well. Yeah. Sometimes people want to build up their ego, or like make them to be more mastery. But of course, some are really pure and true. So for me, all this information, even alien, I think alien, of course, it exists, but they are kind of the same existence. They are not something special for me. They are just kind of like a nature. Yeah, so just different civilization. Maybe they have like a very advanced technology or even spirituality. So they could be another form of existence, like an energy. So for me, all this kind of information is more like they help or affect your existence in each moment. I mean, if this kind of information help you to be a better person or help you to get into more enlightenment or inspire you, that's the main part. It's not just story or just something you feel, oh, so special. But you need to think about it and put this information into your wisdom. Yeah. And then, of course, for now, like even Dalai Lama, he would meet some like top scientists in the world. Yeah, they would discuss. And also Dalai Lama often said you should not just believe in something that you don't really think through. You need to investigate, you need to do research, you need to do deep thinking all the time. Yeah, and you also need to discuss or even challenging all this, even the Buddha's teaching or Buddha's word. Yeah, so they are kind of like a very good Buddhism university. Yeah, they don't just take it for granted or just believe in faith. Of course, faith is very important, but you really need to analyze what it is. And then you need to really understand about it, about everything, about knowledge, about religion. Because religion, there's like a long history, maybe a few hundred years or even thousands of years. But of course, there's the core wisdom within. But after this long period of time, like maybe many different peoples putting their own thoughts in it, and then also become a system, or so there's lots of I would say some other elements into all these religions. I mean, human elements. So I would say really need to analyze and then filter the wisdom or the teachings. Yeah. And then for like the quantum physics or quantum science is kind of a really important finding in these years. I mean, maybe already over 10 years, but still not many people understand it or talk. I mean, really teach in school. I mean, even primary school or secondary school or high school. Only for really kind of few people really understand what is quantum physics. So for quantum physics right now there's lots of explanation for Buddhism teaching. So they're kind of filling up each other's to make a better understanding about the reality of world or the kind of enlightenment.
Wow. I never made the connection between quantum physics and Buddhism. That is fascinating. I'm curious if there's a link that you've found with sound in both disciplines that has resonated with you.
Yeah, for me, I would take into the Nada yoga, because Nada is of course, inner sound, or even the sound that we can't really sense by our ears. But it's more like the very origin of everything. Yeah. So they describe the Big Bang. What's the origin of the Big Bang is the sound, like the very seed of sound. That's also the oneness of sound. And then the sound keep expanding to become, actually it's a vibrational frequency. So it's the same as energy. So the energy keep expanding and then creating structures, and then matter, and then other elements, and then forming this world or universe. So sound is very important or within everything. But also, yeah, like I said, there's no silence in this world. But the really original silence is the original that expand out. I mean, the sound they describe maybe is the silence of sound, but is the original silence. So that's why, like, through Nada Yoga, actually we are trying to approach back to that very basic or origin of sound. So through sound, we try to be union. That's Nada Yoga.
Well said. You're bringing me back to our training here and understanding the struck and the unstruck sounds, the Anahata and the Ahata sounds, that some we can hear, some we don't hear. And to be able to listen to that which we cannot hear might seem quite pointless to someone who's new. But I know you agree with me that it's very important to try and listen for that, because it's what lives within, as you've so beautifully described. In your journey, as Paul, have you noticed any improvements in your life as you've deepened into this practice of silence, of Nada Yoga, of meditation? How has it helped you personally in your life?
Yeah, actually, it helps me a lot. Like when I'm facing difficulties in life, and basically I don't have like a full-time job for many years, and most of my work or freelance work is related to sound or music. So it's actually my life. And also for the sound is more like it's also wisdom to help me to get into all the situation. I mean, it's also communication. Like when we are speaking, it's also sound. So yeah, because I'm a quite quiet person. So it's like sound and music also open my heart to communicate more with different people. Yeah. And also, of course, it also helps me to be more calm, more relaxed. I mean, even you got lots of work or very busy, and you can still like even use a singing bowl to calm yourself down, or so for one of my teaching, like about a theory of sound is when you're playing like a singing bowl, it also helps you to practice, of course, silence, but also patience. Yeah, you can't really like hitting the singing bowl like a drum. You need to be really soft, and like a wave, your hand become a wave, and also is related to your breath. So you breathe in and breathe out, and then it's circulation. And then through this energy, you transfer this energy through your hands to make a wave, and then just pass by the singing bowl. You're not really striking, but just like water or wind pass through the singing bowl. So it become really natural, a very natural sound, and it's not forcing the sound. Yeah. So it's the same as in your life. When you're facing different people or different work, it's also it's good to be not forcing it, but get into the flow of life. And like the course we take with Jivasuji, the naturality, right? So it's a harmony with the nature and with the every moment you are facing your life. So it's also the same thinking with Lao Tzu, the Taoism. Yeah. So the nature got its flow, and when you are getting in this flow in a very natural and harmonized way, then everything is smooth, basically. Yeah.
I love it. That's so well said, Paul. The analogy between not being able to force a sound out of a singing bowl in the same way that we cannot force things to happen in life. I think there's so much wisdom in that simple message. So thank you. Thank you for sharing the wisdom and the teachings and passing on the knowledge from your teachers, who I'm excited to learn more about. Have just really enjoyed this conversation, Paul. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.